welcome to our continued coverage of Ekiti People Decide 2026, where they will choose who leads them as governor in the next 4 years. Will they keep the job of the incumbent, or they'll seek someone else to do that job? Well, our guys are on ground. Our reporters, our editors are all on ground to ensure that they bring us up to speed with what's playing out in Ekiti State. But let's come back right here to the studio, and we have our guest, Wahab Shitu, is a senior advocate of Nigeria. He joins us in our Lagos studios. Good morning, sir, and welcome to the program.
Welcome. Thank you for inviting me. Good morning, Nigeria.
I know we brought you here for all the legalese, but I would like your opening comments on terms of expectations, in terms of what you, from what you've garnered so far, as far as this election is concerned. State that was created in 96, 1999 till now. They've had, I think, about 5 governors and different cycles of election. They are one of the off-cycle election. But the most important thing is that this is the first election that will be conducted, the governorship election that will be conducted under the Electoral Act 2026 that was amended from 2022. How do you want to open, sir?
Well, the retest for the Electoral Act 2026 is this election. When people discuss Electoral Act 2026, the focus erroneously is that it will manifest, or the retest will be the 2027 election. No. You recall that the Electoral Act 2026 came into force in February, it was signed into law this year. And so this is the retest, not just the rehearsal for the future. This is the time we will see whether indeed the Electoral Act 2026 means what it says in terms of whether the law will just be a paper tiger or it will be enforced. Anybody will tell you who has studied the Electoral Act closely, as I've done. Incidentally, it was the subject of conversation. They recently concluded Odua conference, which held at Ile-Ife, and it was rounded up yesterday. Whether the Electoral 2026 is capable of delivering on political stability. That's the thrust of the discussion. And this is the retest. Now, the Electoral 2026, all agreed, is a very good law. It's very comprehensive. The provisions are detailed, but it will require more than a trinity of institutional courage. A trinity of institutional courage. For it to be effective in practice, INEC must be prepared to enforce its provisions. The courts too must play their parts. And then the voters, everybody must play to get the law itself cannot enforce itself. So it will require Nigerians to be vigilant, to be determined, to make it work. And this is the retest. The first retest here, after this one election in August, we'll be talking of Osun election. So this is the litmus test of this, the practicability of the Electoral Act 2026 to deliver on its assignment. I believe that the Nigerians would use this opportunity, the Ekiti people, the voter, will use this opportunity, all players, including the security agencies, will use this opportunity of this Ekiti election to really walk the talk, so that Nigerians can take benefit of a credible poll, free, fair, and peaceful poll that will reflect the will of the Ekiti people. The security agencies must be neutral. Neutral, really neutral, in ensuring that, and then the voters too must not sell their conscience. As much as possible, we don't want to see incidents of vote buying. There are about 6 concerns that have highlighted, and I think we should take particular note of this concern. The first thing is that between the polling units and the collation center, we used to have a lot of magic in times past. And this has been the subject of litigation in times past. Results are announced, a figure is announced in the polling unit, and somehow some mileage changes when it gets to the collation center. Now that gap has been bridged by the Electoral Act now. By the beavers, and then even the real-time transmission, embedded in the new Electoral Act. So that gap, for it to be effective, for also not to see that incidence, people, the presiding officer must announce the result of the polling unit quickly as it is uploaded, and then the voters must be, must be vigilant to ensure that the figure announced actually reflects on the beavers, and where the figure reflects, then it is safe. But if it does not reflect, then that there's concern, and people can then raise alert. The second one concern is, I've mentioned that before, vote buying. Now the penalty is very serious, 10 years ban for any aspirant or anyone caught trading in voters' cars and all that. Again, security threat. And there are two areas here. Our security agencies must protect the voters, and they must not scare voters away. And then we should also ensure that the fourth is access. Materials must get to the polling unit, respective polling unit on time. If materials do not get on time, that's disenfranchisement, by logistics. So you should, and this is responsibility. Is bestowed on our neck to ensure. And luckily, by virtue of the new Electoral Act, there is guaranteed pre-election fundings. 60 days before the election, they have access to forms. Again, voters turn out. Ekiti people must ensure they come out en masse to vote. This is the time for them to, freely elect a governor of their choice. They should not stay indoors. They should not shy away from the process. That way, they will not be helping because of democracy. Again, this law, the Electoral Act 2026, like I've said before, is a good law. But we must, all the institutions involved must be ready to enforce the provisions. Those who violate them must be prosecuted. We don't want to see cases of people engaged in vote buying being left off the hook after the camera has turned off. We should walk the talk and ensure that there is a prosecution of violators of the Electoral Act. The Electoral Act is a serious and well-crafted law. But beyond that, this Ekiti election will then, tell us clearly whether it means what it says.
So let's look at some other sections of the Electoral Act 2026 that also forms a part of the process that we should be looking at. Well, that would be when elections have been concluded, and that is Section 65. Section 65 says the Commission shall have the power to, within 7 days, review the declaration and return where it receives report from its officials and is satisfied that a declaration or return may have been made. And, there are other conditions provided there. A says under duress, or B, knowingly and willfully contrary to procedures prescribed under Section 62, subsection 4, subsection 8 of the Act. Now, you say it's a good document, but this is not satisfactory to other stakeholders in the electoral process who say that this is enormous powers given to INEC to determine if it is satisfied. What if the other candidates are not satisfied with the return that has been made by the returning officer? I'd like you to speak to what the implications of this portion of the law may be for the Ekiti election and these other elections when results have been decided and there is contention.
Well, if you say if INEC is satisfied, that is a subjective standard.
Is what the law says.
Yes, I'm saying that. I'm just trying to do some kind of analysis, and because it's a subjective standard, people may be quick to say, "Oh, it is open to some kind of manipulation." But I think the starting point for Nigerians across board, across political parties, is to have faith in our institutions, particularly on INEC. I particularly have a lot of faith in the leadership of this current INEC. Professor Amukwito, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, led INEC. I want to believe will deliver on his mandate to the satisfaction of Nigerians. That's my optimism. I'm very optimistic. I don't think we should approach the provisions you have just read out, and even the assignment, the larger assignment of INEC, with pessimism. We should not be pessimistic about the process or about the outcome. I think Nigerians must invest faith. Laws are good on paper, but for us to be able to get the results that we desire, we must first of all invest faith in the process. Invest faith in INEC leadership to deliver a credible poll. Invest faith in the security agencies that they will be neutral. Invest faith in the leadership of political parties that they would play according to the rules, and that the voters themselves will know that it is about their collective destiny.
All right.
And that they should not trade this away on the altar of opportunism or some cash and carry kind of democracy.
And the president did indeed say that in his Democracy Day speech that the electoral process works when the people have trust in the process, to support what you have said.
Without trying to, I think the president appears to be a Democrat. I use the word appears adversedly because until he has to walk the talk, he has to prove that.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And if you ask me, I want to believe that
Let us say we're going to come back.
He will live up to expectations.